This is why I don't play these things. Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love talking about? Games. And it seems like more and more people nowadays that talk about games seems to hate them, or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 1,532 of you beautiful people watching this channel. I want to thank everyone for making last week's video of Xenogears one of my biggest videos ever for a single topic video. Check that out if you haven't seen it. And because of that video, I garnered more subs than I've gotten in a week than I can ever remember. And it even garnered me a new Patreon, which, by the way, we'll see. You the man. And his patronage came with some bribery, and that is he wanted me to play Silent Hill on the PS1. Now I gotta tell you, this won't always work. You can't always bribe me to play your games, but it probably usually will. And one of the things that helped is that Silent Hill is a game I've always wanted to play, and it's also not an insane 30, 40, 50 hour RPG. So I popped in my bad boy copy of Silent Hill, although one of the funny things I noticed is I think the greatest hits version is supposed to be silver, and yet again I have, like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I have a regular black disc. So let me know in the comments if that's just the way the greatest hits looks. But yes, we are taking a look at Silent Hill this week. I am a big scaredy cat when it comes to these scary games. Famously, I have not been able to beat Resident Evil B-Side as Claire. When I started Dead Space back in the day, I had to take a break. And yeah, I was not looking forward to playing this. But hey, you guys asked and I delivered. So what do I think about it? Let's find out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
So as you can see by that stirring intro, I did have some scary happenings that actually happened to me while I played this game. That was a funny event that happened while I was playing it. My wife opened up the door, but silently, because we didn't want to wake the baby, and just scared the bejesus out of me. And then yesterday, after beating the game, I actually had a nightmare, which I never do, about some creepy spookiness. So yes, this game, much more so than the other horror games I've ever played, really plays on the psychological horror, which I've always known. I mean, I've always known there's a camp of you're either Resident Evil or you're Silent Hill. And to be honest, after playing through this, I am not ashamed, but I am a little disappointed that I waited so long to play this. I tried a Silent Hill game back, I want to say in 2017 or 18. It was Silent Hill Homecoming or Downpour. I think it was Homecoming. And I just didn't get it. But from what a lot of people say, that's not a great game. Now, starting off with the original was really a treat. I love old school PS1 graphics, but one of the things this game does so well is I would almost say it's less of a survival horror game, which by the way it is, but there's certain elements that aren't quite ironed out in it, like it's item management. There's no item management in it whatsoever. You have unlimited inventory. For the most part, I found ammo and health to be pretty plentiful. I didn't have to ration it too hard, though I also went into it knowing what to expect. So there's times when I would run through enemies and not hit them. There was times when I would focus mainly on melee attacks so that I could save the ammunition. So there is that. And of course there are the glorious tank controls, which I thoroughly enjoyed. There's even the ability to strafe in this game, which I didn't find all that helpful when you hold the LNR trigger. It is DualShock compatible, but I still use the D-pad. And one of the most revolutionary things with this is it doesn't use pre-rendered backgrounds, but it feels like it does. There's a very intelligent camera system that follows you, almost like the cinematic mode in a lot of these late 90s games like Shadows of the Empire or things like in Driver, but it works. And it also enhances the unease of the game. So you'll open up a door, which the load times are phenomenal. There's no long load time opening a door. You open the door, you're in the next room. So you open it, and then suddenly at times you'll be focused on yourself and the camera won't pan behind you. And one of the things it does so well is the fear of the unknown. unknown. So in the beginning of the game, you're running through a town covered in mist. For two reasons. It helps hide the pop-up, but it also obfuscates what you can see. And then you get into other areas. You get into a school, you get into a hospital, there's a sewer section, you go to an amusement park and docks, a lighthouse. And because of the way the camera is situated, you won't see the enemy in front of you, but you'll know they're there because they use a brilliant system of, essentially the radio makes noise when an enemy is nearby. You don't see them, but you know they're there. And there's very little music in this game. There's a lot of ambient music, and it is so effective at putting you in that zone, which for me, usually I like to play games where I'm listening to something or while I have something else that's keeping my attention, but not in this game. You're doing yourself a disservice. You want to make sure that there is no noise, you have the lights off, and you are just going through this town that is progressively making you more and more uneasy. And it messes with your mind. You'll open a bathroom on the first floor and then exit it, and then you suddenly find yourself on the bathroom on the second floor. And you'll get into an elevator and there's only 3 floors, but then when you get to the top floor, you see a 4th floor. And just things like that progressively as you get through the game kind of make you question yourself. Similar to the sanity meter in Eternal Darkness, but I feel a lot more effective and a lot less gimmicky because they don't just suddenly turn the game off or turn the controls off. It's just integrated into the world and you really have no damn clue what's going on. And now why do I call it more of a I want to say it's more of a point and click adventure game. Silent Hill really knocks it out of the park with the puzzles. So the puzzles, there's only so much you can find in these areas. There's a lot of big empty rooms, especially in the earlier parts in the game. And if you find a rubber ball, that rubber ball is going to be evidently clear where it's to be used. If you find a card, you're gonna know where to use it. And the fact that they balance this with this uneasiness of going through the map, because at times with the camera, there was one part that I did get on the footage where I was walking through a hallway and I could hear that something was in there. So I'm slowly edging forward until I hit a steel wall. And then it turns out the enemy is on the other side of the cage. And that was so unsettling, but at the same time, such a wave of relief. And there is so much of that in this game that really is impressive, especially considered that it's in PS1 graphics. Like, it does help that I'm not looking at these things and truly feeling that it's so viscerally realistic. But still, I got chills. These little tiny demon kids wielding knives coming at you, or in the sewers, you have these things hitting you from above. And you're just running to get to safety. There is a lot of that stress, and there is so much stress in this game, but at the same time it doesn't feel overwhelming because you are constantly thrown these bits of, I wouldn't say serotonin, but these bits of satisfaction when you figure out these obtuse puzzles, like the piano playing the notes that don't make sound, or going through and finding the different blocks you put on and having the different color. Like, there's one part where I got in trouble, and that was towards the end of the game, where I'm very familiar with the zodiac signs, and I didn't realize that they were trying to point out the arms and legs instead of I thought they were trying to point out the months. For the most part, the game does an excellent job of setting a realistic expectation as far as, okay, you can find this in the environment to solve the puzzle, you just haven't found it yet, but you will. And another thing about the story-wise is that the game will transfer you from essentially the normalness of Silent Hill, as normal as it can be, and then you go into the dark realm. And it's very seamless how this happens. Now, in the dark realm, you will find everything is covered in metal grates. It's a lot more ominous. It just feels more dangerous, and you want to get out of there as quickly as humanly possible. And as you progress through the game, you find yourself getting trapped in that dark world more and more and more. And there's a map system that allows you to explore these different areas. In each area, you find a new map to unlock and kind of show you where you've been. And it's brilliant the way it shows you, hey, there's an important item in there, or this door is locked, or this door is blocked off altogether. But in the alternate world, it may not be. And there are different endings. So I got the worst ending, unfortunately. I got the bad ending. And what really sucks about that is that I carried around the damn bottle of the red liquid the whole game, and I just didn't know where to use it. Turns out you're supposed to use it in the merry-go-round fight. I didn't. And then I missed the portion where you can get the good ending by I got through the resort area too fast, At this point, I was kind of, because that's what it is. It builds on the stress, and I just wanted to push forward to the lighthouse, and I should have explored more, and that's on me. And doing that gets you enough health, gets you enough ammo. One of my favorite weapons was the mace. The mace really allows you to deal big damage, but you have to stay stationary while you're using it. You have a pistol, a shotgun, and a hunting rifle. For the most part, the pistol I think is more than serviceable, but once you get to the hospital and you start getting those spooky nurses, because there's certain things, even though I don't know Silent Hill, from what I played briefly of the one on the PS2 or the Xbox 360, whichever one I played, I did know creepy nurses are a thing with this series, and oh my god, those are so unsettling. I actually got my wife back. She scared me with opening the door, but while I was playing the hospital section, she thought I was actually choking. And it was like, and it came running in, completely a fright. So it was nice getting a little payback on that. But overall, I feel this game is so intriguing. The storyline is not the strongest by any means. It's not the strongest. And I think the wheels start to come off a bit towards the end. At the beginning of the game, going through the first portion of Silent Hill and the way they break it off and running past demon dogs and the flying creatures, I was just enraptured. Be like, oh wow, I'm so smart. I found the key that opens the doghouse. Oh, I investigated the key that opens up this area. And I think it is geared towards multiple playthroughs. I'm sure there's stuff that unlocks, or you get certain things that will unlock for your second playthrough. I know Resident Evil did that with the special locker. You can get different outfits. And I know the fifth ending, the secret UFO ending, is only available if you play the essentially the New Game Plus mode, which I think is called the New Fear or something of that nature. And also, Pyramid Head is not in this, though you use an item that looks like a pyramid. So that intrigues me for the series going forward. And wow, what a difference compared to playing Homecoming versus this. And I get it. I get why people are a fan of the series. I am now as well. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the tension of it, never quite knowing what's there. Good subverted expectations. You know, in one area you find a cat scare at one point, and then later in the dark version of that, you don't get the cat scare, but then you get a different scare. And it's little nuances like that where the game messes with your mind, in addition to the very satisfying puzzles, which for the most part, other than a couple of times with things like the camera flash, or also because I was right at the end of the game and I wanted to get it finished so I could push it out this week. I feel like a few things were a little too obtuse, but thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you, Will. Thank you, Will, for forcing me to play this, get over my fears. I've now beaten a Silent Hill game, which is cool, even though I got the worst possible ending. But yeah, anyways, highly recommend checking this out. Unfortunately, like everything, the PS1 version is stupid expensive. I think there's a remake of it on more modern system, like PS3 or PSP, things of that nature. But yes, great game. Let me know what you thought of Silent Hill. Let me know if you guys have any more suggestions that aren't Shadowrun on the Genesis. As always, it's been so nice getting a hold of you guys. Take care.